Good evening. Welcome to the Groseal Township Community Recreation Commission meeting, Thursday, June 23rd, 2011. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, good evening, everybody. First, I'd like to welcome our new commissioner, Ann. How do you say your last name?
Hayner McGran.
McGran. Okay, Hayner McGran. Okay, well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And do you know everybody that's here?
Yes.
Does everybody know Ann?
Yes.
Okay. That's good.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, tonight's agenda, I need a motion to approve tonight's agenda. Any additions, deletions, changes? Otherwise, need a motion, please.
Are there any extras?
Pardon me, what was that last one,
Is
Bill?
there any extra agendas?
He needs a copy. While he's getting a copy, I'll make a motion to accept the agenda.
Okay, thank you, Mike. I need a second, please. All right.
Who did that?
Mike and Greg. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Okay, approval of the minutes from the public hearing February 24th, 2011. Are there any additions, deletions, changes? Otherwise, I would like a motion to approve, please. All right, Greg has a motion to approve. Need a second, please.
Second.
John, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay, motion passes. Public comment, 3-minute limit on non-agenda items. Anybody want to discuss anything on non-agenda item? Paige, Sandra? Nope. Okay, moving on. Chairperson's report. Water's Edge Kayak Canoe Launch discussion. All right, been asked by a trustee to look at the viability and the costs of actually pursuing to put a kayak launch at Water's Edge. Tim and I met with several different people. We looked at the north end, by the piers and the piers, the south end. So we got pretty much a consensus that the south end looks like it's the appropriate location, and it would definitely work because other cities and communities do have kayak launches right on the Detroit River, so it's not out of the norm. But I would like to make a motion that this commission approve to look further and actually get cost estimates and a true viability report to give to the Board of Trustees for a kayak launch at Water's Edge. I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Leah seconds. All right. Any discussion? Correct. Any questions or discussions?
Who made the motion?
I did.
You're not allowed to. You're chairman.
Yep, chairman can make a motion,
Not according to Robert's Rules of Order.
according to our township supervisor.
Well, he's not Robert.
All right. Well,
I beg to differ.
what-
I'll make the motion.
okay. Thank you.
Bill will
Thank you,
make the
Bill.
motion.
Are we going to have some discussion on this, though?
Yes, we will.
Yes.
Any questions or discussion on it?
I have a question.
Mike.
You said a township trustee has brought it to our attention, which is good. So I was just wondering, what is the status of the township board regarding the discussion to place this type of item on the canal from a couple months ago? Is the township board still pursuing that as one of their agenda items? Or is that a moot point now and this is the direction we're going in? Or is this separate from, are we doing this separate? Are you doing this separate from the board's discussion of the kayak launch on the...
I think I'm going to defer to Uta, but I mean, my understanding is nothing's finalized with Thoroughfare, so I'm not sure where we're at. So Uta, maybe you can answer?
I'll be glad to answer. First of all, the board voted at its last meeting, or the meeting before last, to approve basically putting a kayak launch down on the Thoroughfare Canal, but they did not fund it. There was no funding. So on Monday's agenda for June 27th, there is a motion by a trustee to secure funding for developing that site. That said, if the board approves the funding, then I would presume that the board is moving forward with the kayak launch at Meridian and Thoroughfare. But if the board does not approve the funding, again, a vote of the majority, then that project takes, a break. It's on hold until the funding gets approved. I think what's happened here is that one of the board members, again, unless there is a vote on an action, it's not the board speaking. So it is a trustee on the board who was interested into what the public had said about looking at Water's Edge and other opportunities for kayak launches. And he asked to meet with Tim and Walt and some other members of the community and of the kayaking community down at Water's Edge to take a look at the southern portion of Water's Edge, not the northern part that is used for the kayak classes. I believe that Tim had talked about. This is the south end where the land is pretty low to the water, and it's south of most of the activities, all of the piers. And so I think that's where the interest came from. I think the biggest question remains for all sites is funding. Where would the funding come from? I think it's important that as a commission we discuss the viability, the pros and cons. So I guess I would support Chairman Katra's idea that we approve the time and effort into looking further into this without spending any money, except for Tim's time and staff time. So I guess what I'm trying to say to you, there is no definitive board yes or no. I think this is just another option that one board member in particular wanted the other board members to consider as an alternative.
All right, any other questions or
Yeah, I've got some comments that
microphone, Bill? Does it work?
I'll have to use this
Okay.
one because this one isn't working, but it just seems to me that in all the years I've been on this commission that we've pursued this and looked at this from a lot of different points of view based on the input that we got from the public. A couple of things come to my attention. I haven't been able to verify them, but I understand that Wyandotte just completed a
Kayak launch.
kayak launch in Wyandotte, and also it was donated to the city of Wyandotte from the Kellogg Corporation or Kellogg Fund for nothing, so there's no cost to Wyandotte. I wonder if we have pursued, based on the fact that we made Water's Edge Marina public and Water's Edge Golf Course public, to enhance our ability to get grants from whoever for improvements of not only the marina and the golf course and surrounding area. It appears to me that we may or may not be pursuing getting these grants, and I thought in my mind, in the years I've been on the board, that we had already discussed and planned to put a kayak and non-motorized vessel launch at Water's Edge. And matter of fact, it was, unless my memory has really gone bad, that was in the last plan that we made.
Correct.
And I don't understand, all of a sudden now, this issue has gotten so convoluted, but the main point of my question here is, are we pursuing anybody to help us, whether it's wherever the location is? I'm not against it. And obviously, being a boater, I'm certainly not. I think there's other ways of making it cheaper for our community to have accesses, but the point being is, are we pursuing everything in this green belt procedure that we made all these moves to enhance our ability to get these grants? Are we pursuing this to help us with a non-motorized launch?
All right. Wyandotte did put in a kayak launch. I don't know whether it was funded by Kellogg or not. I can't confirm or
Yes,
deny.
partially, yes.
Partially.
But a big portion.
Okay, and I think it was roughly about $120,000 for Wyandotte, right, or something like that?
Thereabouts, or a little
Something
more,
like
yeah.
that. We also learned that they're going to be putting in a kayak launch at Elizabeth Park, too. And that's going to happen when? This year or next year?
Within the next year, they hope. There's
Within
always
next year,
delays
that's
with
the
it.
hope with over there. Now, as far as any kind of helping us reduce or payment of a kayak launch at Water's Edge, we haven't got there yet because this has really been dropped in our lap a couple weeks and a half ago, but I'm sure you have some ideas about how to do it anyway.
Definitely. What we did with that waterfront plan, we spent probably a year on it, or close to it. We knew how valuable that whole waterfront, the gateway to Crozille, is.
Right.
And to go out each year for grants, it's nice to have detail, and they know you mean business. Within that whole plan, the packet that was going to go in that went before the board were 2 documents that I have and I can give to the commission. One was from Anita Tordesky, Downriver Link Greenway, Riverside Kayak. Metropolitan Bureau Association was real big in the water trail development. They start, Mary Bowling, Michigan Sea Grant, Michigan State University Sea Grant, and within those letters they offered in-kind services, technical support, and what our goal was. If you look at the Downriver Link Greenway, some of the grants that they've had, look up Downriver Link Greenway, Anita Tordesky, the group Flat Rock just got a grant for like $4,000. We were working on that launch within that project, but what happened is we were trying to take care of the whole waterfront and then not go. The study and the plan was going to cost some money, but each year you go out for transient docks, the kayak launch, but it was a very valuable piece of property. You just didn't want a hodgepodge. There had to be a plan. The whole community looked at it. But yes, we're very familiar with W.K. Kellogg. Anita was going to work with us on the grant, Mary Bowling it all, and I've got that documentation. But what happened was that kayak launch that they were working on within that plan to help us support it, because they knew the importance of the river trail, it got kind of blown up.
Right.
But yes,
you're correct in your...
I got documentation that we were going to go towards grants.
We had the detailed plan, but it was basically killed, and then we had to start all over. In fact, our new 5-year plan didn't even include that dock in the middle and stuff like that. But this, what we're asking right now, or I'm asking them, or the commission, is just, we looked at kind of the rough drafting, but we got to get actual costs.
Well, can I add one more thing? That plan overall, and it was going to be detailed, was about $130,000. 80 had to come from the community and 50 from the MDEQ. But the MDEQ doesn't like to put money into a study and then kind of leave that project dead years after. So that's what we were banking on. And we had met with people up, Dale had gone up to Lansing and met with people. So we were looking very long range on it. Can we do a kayak launch without all that? Definitely. Would the same groups come back and work with us? They love the island component, all the thoroughfare canal, the Gibraltar Bay. They love that portion of it. People love to kayak around this area. So it's a very important part of the Heritage Trail. So we have all kinds of river partners that are waiting for us to join.
And that's why that detailed plan is so important, because they can actually see, the state can see where the money's going to for the grand scheme of things. Right? All right, Uta, sorry.
No, I'd just like to kind of dovetail with what Tim said, and to clarify, too, that until this came up at a board meeting, I think it was in May, this really was not on the front burner for anybody. There were talks about, at our master plan meetings, that people wanted access to waterfront, public access to waterfront. It was never highlighted that it was specifically only access to launch kayaks. I mean, I think it was a general access to waterfront, picnicking, boating, kayaking, canoeing, multi-recreational. The site at Meridian and Thoroughfare, I think, became a hot button because a scout was looking for an Eagle Scout project, and he had a deadline, and they had funding that they offered to put behind it. But I think the funding was still basically is contingent on approval from the Boy Scouts of America. I think, Tim, correct me if I'm wrong, but at that point you said, too, that the site down there at the Thoroughfare would not qualify for some of the grants that we would look for, because it would be very difficult to show that it was ADA compliant.
ADA wasn't a consideration there, and that's kind of been our focus for many years now. But we're still playing catch up on the island with ADA issues. But we're working on it.
It's not that we wouldn't get a grant because it was not ADA compliant. It was that our focus for grants is ADA compliance.
Including.
Yeah. So one of the things that were discussed a few years ago at Water's Edge is that that site would be qualified for the funding, and that Anita Twardesky and the Riverside Kayak Connection were really interested in adding a cross-the-river venue for kayakers and canoeists and boaters who were part of this linked waterway, that they would have a destination. And what they liked about Water's Edge is that it had a restaurant, it had the marina, and it also had a golf course and a pool, so that conceivably people who kayaked over, canoed over, or came any other way would have some additional recreational opportunities available to them on the island. And one of the things Anita did point out, and it resonated in me because I thought it was very funny, but that sometimes kayakers kayak with their golf clubs in the kayak, and they like to take it to various golfing places. And we thought she was kidding, and she showed us. So, so at that level, I think the commission at that time was fairly sold on the concept because it did seem to bring so many different pieces together. But when we brought this plan, this waterfront plan to the township board almost 3 years ago, the board decided it did not like this plan, and so basically abandoned it. They didn't want to spend additional money in planning. They would rather use the money in building and implementing. So that was a decision that the board made. I just found a fish fly at my desk, that's why I grimaced. Just a moment to relax. Creepy crawly things.
Centennial Farm.
So that's one of the ways that that the topic. Oh God, Walt! And the building is literally crawling with them. Right, they're all over outside. So it was interesting that a trustee then brought the plan back to life at some level, and I think it was based on community input at the sessions on the thoroughfare site. A lot of the residents pointed to both Wyandotte, Elizabeth Park, and Water's Edge as potential. And so I think this trustee wanted to explore the other alternatives that we had available. So that's kind of the long answer, Bill. I appreciate your question, too.
Well, the other thought that I had, and I don't want to belabor this discussion period, but the other thought I had is, since this is going to be a major expense to the community, is there going to be any way that we can have a payback where they will be charged to use that facility? No matter if they're off-island or islanders, is there going to be some sort of a permit you need, like...
We could definitely assess a fee. We could also, in original meetings with Riverside Kayak, they wanted to put the storage units there and also investigate rental opportunities and run classes from that site.
Yeah. Well, I think that's wise. At least the community would know that there's going to be some payback or input to defray the cost of this over a period of time. That's the only thing I'm considering. The reason I asked that was because we're in dire straits financially here, and I know that came up at the township board meetings, and I think it's a realistic concern by the community. So I'm hoping that will happen as this progresses forward. There's a lot of things that we do on this island that obviously I keep my boat on the island. I'd certainly like the township to pick up that cost and my golf cost and all the other things that I do. Obviously I don't expect that. But I think we just can't keep giving things away. We need to start paying attention to what this community needs and also how to fund it. That's all I wanted to say.
Thank you. Any other questions or discussion? Uta?
I know, Mr. Chair, thank you. Bill raises some really important facts, and I think the financial constraints that we face as a government entity over the next few years are very real, and partly because of the huge decline in our revenues coming in based on the lowering of property values and the taxes coming in. I think there was a concern with the thoroughfare property that we could, if we built it, it could be free to the residents and only for the residents. And the thought behind it was that this could be, something special for the residents. But I would also argue that doing something like that at Water's Edge can be structured in such a way that, say, there can be a residence fee and there can be a non-residence fee, so that it's maybe just a cost for residents and a cost plus something for non-residents. Now, if we do eventually go ahead with this, I think the odds of getting board approval go exponentially higher the more grants you get toward it, and the fact that Water's Edge can actually run it as, Peter likes to put it, an enterprise, so that it actually becomes a revenue-generating activity, and if not a profit-generating activity, at least a break-even activity under that rec umbrella. So I think that you brought that up, Bill, is really valuable to the discussion, because I think a site like that at Water's Edge could cover the two different demands. But the big test, of course, will be getting past that financial challenge at the township board, because, again, if we can't do a little launch at Thoroughfare, the odds of us actually going ahead and putting money ahead to build an even bigger, fancier, higher-end launch, are probably not realistic.
All right, any other questions or discussion? Move it out to the public. Any questions or discussions? All right, moving back, we got a vote on this in favor of looking for the costs and viability of the kayak launch at Water's Edge. Say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, motion passes. Okay, thank you. All right, Playscape Security. I want to make this commission aware of vandalism, graffiti that's been taking place at our Playscape that's located on Macomb. Over the years, we've dealt with this here and there, but it seems to be picking up the pace a little bit with the vandalism and the damage. This fall, it'll mark 20 years that the community came together to form and put together that Playscape through Tim's diligence of the maintaining of it, through the creosol, whatever, the sealants, the
Linseed oil.
the linseed oil, it's a wood structure, by the way. Beehives, wood chips, stuff like this. You've extended the life of that structure, correct?
Right.
Far
Many people have. Everybody's pitched in.
far what they expected. What I want to ask this commission is, I thought of 4 different options of how to deal with the Playscape and the cost and rising up of it. And I want to have a discussion about what we can do about it. So I came up with basically leaving it alone, just deal with it. Maybe the kids will get smarter and stop graffitiing and breaking and stuff like that. Relocate it. We did look at it about 3 years ago to relocate it at the Playscape to the soccer fields, and the cost would have been $70,000, if I'm correct. At that time, we did cut the shrubs behind the bank so that the police could have better visibility, and it obviously didn't work too good. So either relocate, pay the cost, or try another fundraiser to maybe to find another place best suited for a Playscape, whether it be Water's Edge, soccer field. I know the DDA is going to put a pocket park in at Lions and Macomb. I did talk with Brian about that. The initial drawings does not include any kind of Playscape or swings or anything like that at all. But he was open to suggestions from this commission. The third option would be to install security cameras at the site. The police right now, you're aware, have security cameras on 4 corners and, Uta, remind me, somewhere else, right? They got them several places, right? Several intersections?
At 4 corners and at the Commons.
Okay, at Macomb and Meridian. I did go to the police commission at their meeting, told them, asked them, if they got any ideas or how they could help us. Joe did say that it is a big security issue with his department. Officers are, patrol that area quite frequently. The kids do run away in the open space and stuff, so they never would catch anybody. So that would be the third option there. The fourth one would be basically demolishing the whole thing, abandoning that site, and if we can come up with money, if we can come with somebody that can do a fundraiser, community event again, and like I said, just find a new location, that's what we got. So can I get some discussion or some thoughts from each commissioner on where they're leaning from leaving alone to relocation, basically bits and pieces, whatever, pick up the cost ourselves, security cameras, or total demolition? Anybody want to chime in?
I just have a question, because I don't know. I don't have children here. Is it used? How much is it used? Is it a popular thing? Is it a good thing? I just don't know.
I don't know how much they use it, but I mean, for the parents that do say it go there, there's a lot of teenagers that hang around there, so they don't really bring young ones there, because it seems to be a teenager hang.
Not as many young children are taken over. There's still use, but it was much popular the first 10 years, and it has been the second 10 years.
And there's the ongoing bee and wasp issue at the site that kind of discourages, we get a letter every now and then.
Right, and
Oakland.
we're going to change our strategy this year. We're going to seal it, power wash it, seal it at the beginning of the year, and then have pest masters come in right after that. And that'll happen probably within the next 2 weeks. And we're going to do the repairs next Wednesday.
All right. Any other questions?
And that's kind of what we've done every year, the repairs, restain, fix it every year. We just go back and do it.
And Tim, when Supervisor Loftus first came on the board, he made a recommendation about moving or relocating it. And one of the considerations was that it was no longer, what was the word? Not viable, but that the materials themselves were probably no longer able to be reused after 20 years, or something like, I remember something like that, saying it would not really pay for moving it, it would be better just to build a new one.
Yeah, back, I think, I don't know if I'm perfectly right on this, but I remember when they were proposing it to the township, they gave it a life of 15 to 25 years. It's at 20 now, but one thing we've been very good about, if you go to other places, we do seal it at least once a year, and it's really kept, and that's why it's so dark. But there's been a lot of controversy with the wood that was used with those playscapes, and some cities have taken them down because of tests have shown the linseed oil does protect it, but you got to keep at it. But there was, womanized wood back then had different ways of treating it, so there's been some controversy, but we had ours tested. They keep coming out from the federal government saying it is safe, and we still seal it, but so we could keep it going. It's still usable. We keep repairing it. And Walt, you found that there was still a lot of people in the community that would.
Oh yeah, I did contact the
very key.
stakeholders. I called all the stakeholders that were actually a big part of doing all this stuff, and basically there wasn't one person that differed. Everybody wanted the security cameras because of the community involvement. They wanted to keep this thing going and keep it alive, keep it there just the way it is, but with security cameras. So yeah, that's right. I did contact the key stakeholders. Probably about 8 people. I contacted all the chairs of the different committees in that group. So
Well, you said something about moving it down to the airport field?
Well, that was the initial one when, like 3 years ago, when we looked at the cost. Because I know that Gyro was big on having a playscape there when, they got 4 or 5 kids, they got something else to do over there.
There was even talk, sorry to interrupt, back when the post office moved into the old township hall, we were trying to figure out how to get people back to the playscape, and we came up with that drive, Playscape Way. But back then it was over $50,000. We actually flew Leathers Corporation in to look at how it was constructed, and I've still got the paperwork somewhere. It was over $50,000 then. You're better off having a community fundraiser with modern day materials that they're, and those companies, since Leathers started that, there was a wave across the country of wood playscapes. Well, now they're doing it with plastic and metal, and
Right,
it's the
which
same
we have
process
at the
where they
farm,
bring-
right?
Yeah,
The
this would
farm?
be the same thing, a community barn raising type approach. And that's another thing we could, could maybe do a transition and see if we could get a group to head that up and build another playscape, maybe that would.
Our current locations are what? The middle schools and Centennial Farm? For any kind of...
Well, schools with liability issues would be a concern, and we'd have to go through their...
Right, but they currently have, what I'm saying is they still have like playscapes, right? Both middle schools do? Or elementary schools,
Yeah, there's
whatever?
one
Right?
behind the middle school, and there's one over
But
at Park Lane.
were those were built by the schools?
No, the playscapes, all the new, well, there's some parts of the play equipment that was raised by PTO or PTA at Meridian, but most of the play equipment you see, the one behind East River, the
That's-
major structure behind Meridian and Park Lane was done by the Community Recreation Commission through the Block Grant program, because a lot of it was done in the early 60s and that, and by the time the rec department started in 87, they really deteriorated. It was the wood, the old wood.
Right.
And so we ripped that out and used, the township board used Block Grant, you know.
And our newest one is at the farm, right?
The newest one is, the East River might be a little bit
East
newer.
River might be newer? Okay.
My thinking on this is that because of the configuration of the playscape that we have, it offers a real nice place for teenagers to assemble and do things that they probably shouldn't be doing. Obviously, we're seeing the effects of that with the graffiti and some of the damages. I do know that, and Tim, you'll recall when I was pursuing having a security light put on at the, behind the Centennial Farm building to protect the pavilion that we built there, because I do know there was some activities going on there after hours when they shouldn't be in the park. The kids were in there and they were doing some things.
That had a huge impact, because we're in there a lot at night, and
Yeah.
you always see 3 or 4 cars by the pathway by the rose garden
Right.
in the dark. You know somebody is back there, but now you don't see that as often.
doesn't Well, I think
There's still
that,
activity,
I think
but
that
not like-
security light helps, and I think if we keep what we have till we come up with a better idea, maybe, I don't know what the cost might be, but maybe security camera and bright lighting would certainly help that, because then you can see faces and you can identify people, and you may not be able to chase them through the woods, but you know who they are. And so that would be my thought, and you know, maybe we need to ask ourselves question too, do we have enough other facilities on the island where they can enjoy that kind of activity, the young kids, that is, the correct way somewhere on the island that we could actually dismantle this if we needed to later on. And like you said, it's well beyond its normal lifespan, and that is because you've done such a good job in keeping it protected and sealed. So that's just my thinking, that I think it's a dangerous issue if it remains there and it's not lit or security cameraed.
All right. Greg, you got an opinion on this?
I think Bill pretty much nailed it. I mean, if you put bright lights back there and a security camera, it'll stop people from using it. But I also think that we ought to explore putting one of those playscapes down at the airport field. I think, like you guys have all said, that when you go down there, you got several little kids. If they're not playing, they've got something to do then. You can send them over to the playscape.
Helena?
I guess, my opinion, as a parent, when I had kids, I'd like the playscape. If my kids were still small, I would not take them out behind that building. You know what I mean? So as far as the person using the playscape, I would not, if I had a choice to take my kids to places that have playscapes, I wouldn't choose that one. I just don't like the location. I'd choose one where there's other fields and it's open and it's not hidden back there. So that's as a user. If you're looking at just protecting that particular site, well, then I'd say maybe cameras and that sort of thing to protect it. But as a parent using a playscape, I understand the warm, fuzzy feelings and the whole community. I remember when we put that together, and I remember what a big event it was to pull it together, so I can see the people that put it together. It's going to kind of hurt them not to see that go. So as a person, when we all everybody had a job, everybody had hammers and fake nails, and all, it was a big thing to do. That if either you do that same thing and raise a new one, or you preserve at least the the atmosphere or whatever you have with that particular place, and even if it's parts of it or the sign of it or something, it goes down by where you need one, which is down by the soccer fields.
So you would be in favor of...
Two things, if you want to protect it, security cameras and lights. But the idea of we need a playscape, as a parent, so you fix that place, but we need a playscape as nice as that one, as good as that one, where I could hire a young teenager to watch my kids and take them to a playscape. We need a different one, or a different
Well,
place.
you do have the farm. Farm's a good location, right?
Right, but you have one there, so as a parent, you have a choice of places, right?
Right.
And as a parent, I wouldn't choose that one behind the post office. I didn't like it when they moved it. I said, I'm not going back.
Thanks. Mike, you got an opinion on what you think?
I would concur with what Bill said, from what I know, but I don't know much about the use of that area, so I don't have any further comment.
Leah?
Mine has already been said.
Who we got here? Ann?
I remember the last time I took my own children there, and it felt so isolated. Once they turned that building into the post office, you just felt cut off from Macomb Street, and it was almost kind of creepy. I agree with Helena. If we're going to preserve it, we need cameras and lighting. But maybe looking at possibly, I don't know if there's any way to cut back a lot of the growth back there. It's been quite a few years since I've been there now. Just because of the way it felt being back there, I don't know if there's any way to cut back more stuff to make it more visible, but, maybe looking at possibly moving it wouldn't be bad if it's an option. And I know when it was more open, the kids really did enjoy it, but now, not so much. So I would say, go with cameras if we're going to keep it. Let's get some cameras and some lighting, and possibly relocate it.
All right. John?
Well, in the beginning, and what it is now, are two hugely different purposes. It is much more isolated and hidden, as Helena was saying. And if we determine that we need one, that's the question I have: is do we really need one for the kids? Since kids' population is shrinking right now, we don't. Do we really need something like that? And if we do, then I don't want to have it hidden behind or isolated where it is right now. Second is what is the maintenance and cost? How has that changed over the years?
It pretty much the similar things happen. We've had
Is it? Yeah.
bigger damage some years than other years, but it's pretty consistent. It's I'd say it ranged from $1,000 to $2,000. We spend about $4,000 to $5,000 on the playscape a year. That's all in that area.
About this, and
But we're used to it. We go in and do it, and
And a lot of it's like nickel and dime, where we can't...
It's a nickel and dime.
We are paying for it.
but I think a new updated playscape would be wonderful for all the kids. I mean, I think it would be nice. But we, as a director and our staff, we'll do what we're directed, but we'd work hard to keep it going, if that's your concern. But then again, but all the commissioners said are very valid. We need to have better security, and it's hard for any of the township staff to keep on that every minute of every day, whether it's a bike path or a gazebo or a playscape. We go at it, we'll fix it, and keep moving on.
I like security cameras are good. The other, there was also a usage for it that had come up in the very beginning, that when people were taking strolls and adults were taking walks, that they would make that a destination for maybe a picnic, maybe to read a book, maybe just to hang out and socialize. That purpose is still a nice thing to have. And I don't think there's that many places along Macomb that offer that. So that's another option I think could be pursued.
All right, thanks. Uta?
I think we're coming up with some really good points and ideas. When we first moved to the island and had kids, we were there all the time, and it was one of our favorite destinations for the kids. And what made it really special, one was it was surrounded by nature, and yes, the township hall was still there, and there was a closer access to the street. One of the beautiful things about that playscape that I found in watching my kids and my niece and nephew and their friends grow up there is that it was different from some of the other playscapes that we currently have in that it really fostered imaginative play. You know, it was more like a giant fort, play fort. There were pretend car, boat, whatever you wanted it to be, a pretend horse, beam, whatever you wanted it to be. And that made it very exciting for the kids until they were about 6, 7, 8 years old. And I think some of that loveliness can be preserved there. I think in terms of building security cameras or lighting, I have a fear that might bring up some issues in the community. Every time we bring up lighting at a public place, it becomes a concern of the residents nearby. Now, this isn't a business district, so it might not be so bad, but just remember that we have to follow the channels to make sure that we're okay with adding expanded lighting. One of the reasons we put in the short, dim bollard lights was, again, the lighting concern that people had, and of course those were promptly vandalized. So maybe putting higher lights, I don't know, again, all that costs money. So one of the things that, Walt, you said when you contacted some of the former volunteers or members of the steering committee is could we maybe put a call out to revive that steering committee or get new people and people who were on it before together to either do another fundraising campaign or a brainstorming kind of thing. What can we do to make this area, again, more exciting to the kids? I think a playscape in our downtown is probably a nice idea, but maybe there are other ways we can make it accessible, maybe with easements from the businesses, that there's more than one way to get back there. We're really trying to draw people to our little downtown, and of course that's one of the reasons the teens go there too. And then what Bill said is, I still remember Terry Hunter saying this like 10 years ago, we still need to find more opportunities for the tweens that aren't structured. It's not a lesson they have to go to or so forth, but that gives them a recreational outlet, kind of like they now run to Water's Edge to play volleyball.
It's packed every night.
So I think maybe if we put our heads together as a community, again, we can revive some of that spirit and revive the playscape. Just remember, if we put in security lights and cameras, that we do still have to go through, the public input and the police and fire input. So
The 10-year anniversary, quite a few people came out. 15, I think we tried to do something very light turnout, but maybe it's time this fall, about the same date that it was installed, to have like a special event there and kind of focus on the maintenance end again. After we make the repairs this summer, which are budgeted, and then maybe have an event this fall and see what kind of interest there is from the committee, the old committee that helped and that Walt talked to, and maybe we come up with some ideas over the summer and make one more big push. Not that it's the last push, but make a big push to see what we can get everybody
to
involved.
revive that volunteer spirit
Yeah.
again, because we don't have the money really right now to move it. We don't have the money to build something new, but we want to provide something to our families and our kids.
All right.
I got
Well,
another thing, Walt.
no, you already had your chance. What do you got, Jim?
How about, are we talking about surveying the community again to find out if we,
Well, I think that's what he was leading
what
into.
you're talking about, Tim? That's, that seems like a
Maybe,
good idea.
I think maybe something in fall channels and set it like late September, try to pick a
I like that
time
idea,
when there's not a
too.
lot of community events and special, we're conflicting against anything, and maybe just get some input.
Yeah.
All right,
Well,
so-
but besides that, if there's a place where activities are going to happen, I'm thinking of the farmers market. That where the farmers market is could be a place that secondarily, if there's a playscape there, then there's a place for the kids to go while the adults are at the farmers market. Just a thought.
All right. Uta, you wanted to add something else?
The brain is storming.
Okay, gotta be quick now.
Tim, one thing that we could do is plan a 10-minute presentation to the Township Board about Playscape and some of our concerns with Playscape, and then invite the community to get involved in giving input. We could put a page on our website regarding Playscape that the commission can work together to help put some text together. And I think another thing is maybe to ask Ted Fournier and the Cable Communication Commission to put together a short GITV program. And I know it might be kind of interesting for some of our team cable employees to ask their friends and cohorts for input or commentary on Playscape and get them involved in the process to see what are their suggestions, and maybe peer pressure can turn into not damaging the site. So I think those are some options we have at our disposal.
I'm also wondering maybe some of the, I don't know if they'd have the time, some of the past committee people to help bring that to create life. Maybe they could call Leathers, because I'm sure there's those wood playscapes, not all of them have been torn down, but have them maybe find some communities where they've had celebrations and revive those wood structures. And I know they're out there because I've seen newsletters pass me and I put them in the book, and I think there's like a pride factor to keep it alive, so maybe they could help me with that.
Maybe they can give us a 20th anniversary award, and create a public event for us to receive the award. Look what you've done, you've kept this alive much longer than anticipated. Or we could sell it on eBay.
All right. So if you commissioners could do a couple things for you. Go visit the Playscape, take a look at it, see what you think about it. If you get a chance, go down to Township Hall. The DDA has a plan of what the park, what their planned park, what they have an idea of what that's going to look like. Brian Loftus did just suggest if any of us commissioners have any ideas, maybe you want to look at it, and next commission meeting we can discuss some ideas for that. I like the idea of the tweens and teenager activities. I think it's something we got. If we can't, if we can't find those guys somewhere else to go, I think we're never going to get rid of them. I think they're going to be like ticks, right? I like your event idea, Tim. The 20th anniversary and John's stuff too with the public input. Maybe it can be a dual thing and stuff, and the public input could be constant, like with Uta said with the media and stuff like that. But Craig and Helena and all stuff like this, I think the other key thing is the new location. We do got to think of something new. I mean, I think the location's not key. It was good 20 years ago, but sooner or later we're going to have to find a new location. So if you guys can maybe just think about it, and get some ideas for next meeting. We could put that down for some old business and discuss it more next month. All right, anything else on that one? Well, that's probably the longest chairperson's report I ever had. All right, Tim Mooney, Recreation Director's Report, project updates, the farm and Water's Edge. What do you got for us?
As you remember, back in April, we came up with 2 lengthy lists of projects for Centennial Farm and the marina. We're working on both areas. We tried to focus on the safety issues. What we've done at the farm, there's been a lot of volunteer work that took place in April, staff work following that, but a long ways to go because that list was about 3 pages long, but we're going to stick with it. We did, you knew this from previous meetings, we did work on the barn, on the rust. The dangerous trees have been removed by the Playscape and others on the farm. The big thing is that, what is that? The big catch basin, as you go out to the pond, it's been there. Pro Excavation will be there on Monday or Tuesday to repair that whole area, and then they're also going to...
Wait, what area again? Where?
If you take the little 2-track out to the chicken coop and the pond,
Right.
to the right of that,
Okay,
there's
yeah. Right.
that damage there, and that should have been done a long time ago, and I apologize. But
What about the drainage behind the rec building itself?
the one along there, I need to get a few more quotes. I had one contractor come out for that location, and
Okay.
pretty good price. So I need to get a couple more quotes. There was a big problem along the animal shelter, and that's going to be taken care of next week, too. I got 3 quotes, and the same company's going to handle both of those. So, and we're going to stay at that. And there's a lot of issues. There's the one thing that I regret, too, is there's a tub in the red barn that needs to be replaced, and some water collects and that can be unhealthy, so I got to get that taken care of too. That's something that keeps slipping my mind. I know they keep it poured out and clean, but every once in a while it'll be sitting in there, and that's not their fault. It needs a new sink.
Okay.
And then the marina, and you can add after I go through this. We had the walkthrough on April 25th, and Mark and Brian have been doing quite a bit of work here and there. And then today we had Keith Lehman come down and do most of the welding that we had talked about during the walkthrough. And then we do want to put some concrete on one of those dots. We put supports under, I think it was, let me look here. The support braces under 4 and 5 that we're sinking in a little, and that'll be a temporary fix. That's solid, and then we're going to, the last thing we have to do from all those things that I listed in this report, whether it's the the brackets to hold the water pipes or the electrical, those were done today, and then the cement's the last thing on the one decking, and I think that those will be some good repairs for this year. And then I'll give you another final report on that next month or August, or probably next month. But I emailed this out. I don't know if anybody had time because most of the information came out a little later than I like. But
All right. Any questions about the project updates? John?
I don't have a question about that, but I got a question about something else.
Mike,
Okay.
use your mic.
Well, how far are we going away from project updates?
The Island Fest.
No, that's too far.
Too far?
We'll keep you on the rebound. Remember that thought. Any?
I got a question for Tim on that. Tim, just at the entrance to the marina, I know you had the work done the other day where that water's been leaking, and I see gravel and fill, and do you think that's going to solve the leaking?
not 100%. We made a decision budget-wise to fill it with gravel.
Yes.
Because last year the same problem was detected, and then in July it all dried out. It's a drainage tile from the golf course, and
Oh, then it's Bill's issue.
we dug it out, we looked at it, made sure it wasn't a water.
up and we'll make a launch out of it.
A fresh water line, and we filled it in with fresh gravel, and we're going to monitor it. If it comes up again, we're going to go right in and take care of it.
Thank you.
Yes.
Oh, what about the parking lot? Where's the status on the parking lot?
Parking lot, the original bids went out, and the fire department was included in the non-community block grant funding part. We have our regular parking lot that's not a part of the block grant. Fire department was involved in that, and they were debating over it a little bit. They want to go to the township board Monday night and also do the project at the same time. I think there would be some savings to get
So
all.
we're going to have a piggyback?
Piggyback, yeah.
Okay. All right. Update on the airport recreation area volunteer position.
Tom was going to be here tonight, but his daughter's birthday, and his wife said no.
All right,
I think it went fairly well. I mean, we need to
What do you
talk
mean? It's
Tom.
still going on, though, correct? He's still doing this?
Yeah, well, I asked the commission if we could try it for the spring and then maybe continue it in the late summer, fall season. And he's agreed to do it, and he's been in contact with Greg Kish, who's kind of overseeing the development of the lawn and for the football field, the grass area there.
Yeah, speaking of which, how is that football field?
It's coming along. Mark, I put it in the report there. Mark took care of the water wheel, and I don't know if he or Brian brought it over, but they were cleaning it up, took it out of maintenance. And then Mark works well with the DPS, and he'll take care of the meter through Barry Sedlock. And
We actually needed to water that grass after all the rain we've had.
well, we'll see.
Really?
It's in position.
They're just, I think what they're trying to do is they want to be proactive. They don't want to lose the
Yeah.
fields.
Okay.
So,
We're getting everything set up in case we get a drought.
Okay. All right, anything else that you want to add, Tim?
I think it was back in, well, maybe I should do this now, because, you guys might be interested in this. Is that okay?
You know,
As you know, we still have a couple lease agreements to take care of, and I wanted to give the commission an update on the Equestrian Center operating agreement. Right now, the administrative team is currently working on a report for presentation to this body, the Community Recreation Commission. The report will include the following: a brief history on the Equestrian Center and the services that have been provided to the community, mainly focusing on Luton Riding Academy. What will be in this report when Ann looks at it, and then it goes to, or Ann finishes looking at it, and then goes to Dale with Uda and Walt. Financial costs of facilities versus return on investment, payment to cover property, these are things we'd look at under that. Payment to cover property taxes and allocated maintenance and improvements, payment to cover property taxes and directly related maintenance and improvements, market value approach, cost of not having Equestrian Center. And then in the summary, what we'd look at, and this isn't set in stone because it's still going through the process, but we need to take care of it in July. Consideration to the master plan. There was a lot of input on equestrian activities. I think we need to consider the groups that are involved there, all the stakeholders, the benefits of an equestrian center, and some of them are gray, as it's kind of always been my approach over the negotiation of the agreement. People love to come there. There's a value to that part of it. Maintaining a farm setting, we promised the voters back in 96, 97 that it would remain a farm, and the focus has always been equestrian. I think that's worked well for the community, and I think it's a pride point. The financial analysis would be there related to the above items. And that, like I say, that's got to go through. I'm not quite as tough on that. I'm learning to be a little bit better, but it goes through Ann and Dale, and they look at it a lot closer than I do as far as what we need to do, what the times are. They're seeing the numbers come in from the state. In terms of lease, attaining goal of market value while recognizing the variety of factors, that gray area and other things. After review and consideration by CRC, the draft operating agreement will be sent to the Township Board for consideration. But I'd like Ann to still have time on it, and then Dale and Uda and Walt through that process, and then see if it's time to bring it back to the CRC. Does that sound reasonable?
Sounds good to me. And we do have a member that actually got involved, Paige Miller, sat down with Ann and did their analysis
Right.
and stuff like that, so that's good.
Very
too.
helpful.
All right, anything else, Tim? And then move on right to the inline skating project. You got any updates on that?
Yes, I do.
And this is a reminder, this is the inline skate project that would be at Water's Edge. Would be a combo winter ice rink, and then it would be a summer inline skating rink, never to be taken down or put up, so that would be great. All season, all year round.
I wanted to put it on the screen, but
Put it on the screen.
I want me there.
Yeah.
Let me just go up here. Public still got to see it on TV.
Right.
There's plenty.
I thought he didn't have enough or something,
Somebody's got a nice copy machine. Color.
No, it's got way too many. You guys can have one.
Okay.
Oh, we got different sizes.
Right. The bigger one you'll see is you'd be able to have tournaments, certified tournament. I don't know what the correct word is, but inline skating would be approved by college, high school, that type of thing. That's 165 feet long. That's a actual regulation inline skating.
Are we talking like some, are we saying like, as Joe Louis, the rink?
Right, a bigger, yeah.
Okay.
So if we wanted to have tournaments, I think we're looking at recreation.
Okay.
Our kids go out and enjoy it in the winter. What they say for the minimum to go would be 145. Theirs on the bottom is the 145. Now you see how it lays next to the basketball court and the volleyball court. We don't want to turn it east and west, or I wouldn't recommend that. Is this the site we want? Okay. And then you have some figures.
This one.
If you go through your packet, there's some figures that are...
What are we looking at on the north side about extending it out there? How far are we going?
See how far the regulation one goes almost out? Pretty close to the fairway.
Okay, so, but this
Even though it'd
is,
be screened in, that wouldn't be a great idea.
the long one, Bill would be hitting that rink all the time.
They'd be hitting, yeah, Bill would be
I'd be in
hammered.
the center of that puppy.
But this is the first real layout that you can get a view of. Is Water's Edge the site for it? Do we want to move things around? Should it be somewhere else in the community?
Put it here.
And then The construction estimate is for the smaller court, 145 by 65. And I thank you, I wasn't here last month. I had talked to our county representative. He can't promise anything, but, you know, he would support our application. The county budget cycles in October. That's when they look at those millage monies they would give to certain communities in Wayne County. And I told him our project, he liked it. He encouraged me to apply. You know, like I said, he can't promise anything, but he would definitely fight. First time we went out was in 2006 or in 2011. We finished it in late 2008, the basketball court. So our timing, we're not going back every year saying we need money, money, money. Our timing's right. We put a lot of money towards the county millage, and that money does have to go back to the community. It's not like we're taking it out of their main Parks and Rec coffer. It's set aside for communities. But if we go to the township board and we apply to the county, I think that there can't be any gray area or any questions. I think we probably have about $59,000 in the community right now. Or if we got the county grant, we'd have about $59,000. So if you go down the project list, I would go to the board and say, this is what we're applying for. We're applying for the concrete slab, the topsoil grading and restoration. We've got to find in the community fundraising, goal posts, the striping, and then we have some of the boards already for the court. And then we'd have to get, you know, the fencing or the caged-in area. So I think we could come up with a grant in the community. We'd probably be around $60,000. We could assure the board. We'd have to be able to tell them we can come up with a remainder. But do you think see, that's the balancing act. I hate to let this cycle go past and not have a chance for that $50,000, but we got to be pretty solid going in and say in August or September when we make the recommendation we can come up with the remainder of the funds. So that's kind of what we're up against. I'm excited about the county approach and our possibilities, but we'd have to. So I need some help, maybe strategizing. We can.
We're saying $100,000 for this total project. How much would Wayne County do you think it'd be worth this?
I think, based on what we received in the past and looking at other communities, $50,000 would be a fair amount to ask for. So I think with what we've raised already in the community, we'd have about $60,000. We'd have to. I still think it'd be good to just put it in, and then between the hockey association, the sports associations, and the community, I think we could come up with that $30,000. I mean, look at all the boards and the sponsorships we've had. We've probably raised over $12,000 in the last 3 years, just total for sponsorships, and then we've got all the wood that we've
we really need the community support on this too.
Yeah, we could do it,
and this would be a great teenager and tweens activity to keep them away from their playscape too.
Inline summer months, warm weather months, hockey in the winter, and we'd have a curbed.
Hey, Tim, can I ask you a question, though? I mean, you said earlier that the volleyball is just always packed.
It is, so that's what we got to look at, too.
Now,
you're looking at moving it.
Right. Why would you move the volleyball court? I would recommend that you take this and move it down to the airport. Because wouldn't then, if you had this down at the airport, you're starting to build on the airport recreation area? Start getting
years ago, that's where it was located.
Right.
But
I think they were looking at like a place for the winter activity, like with Carl Moore, looking at lean-tos of the building,
warming area, lighting,
restrooms for people to go
power,
to, the right power, lighting.
But isn't that all the more reason to move it down to the airport then? Because you got more room to build down there. Here you're boxing yourself in. Because I'm going to start cutting that corner and trying to get a good bounce off that skate land thing onto that green. You keep building there. But you follow what I'm saying, Tim? I just think you start moving this stuff down to the airport, and it starts building up that area. We already got those great soccer fields, those great football fields. You're going to put some baseball fields down there. You put a playscape down there like we've been talking about. You put this thing down there. I mean,
I don't think we have any room for ice rink there, do we, with the baseball fields and soccer fields?
It's going to be tight in the area without going in, expanding into the other areas.
Yeah, but can't we come south? Isn't there? You got that parking lot right next to the haunted house.
The parking lot does go kind of across that whole area.
Right, but right south of the parking lot there, you got the haunted house with the parking lot
That's
right
airport
there.
property. It's not our property.
Yeah, but they're not using it.
No, we have to look at it. I'm not saying that it's out of the question, but I need a little help trying to scope that out. But
all right, it just
I agree with you.
My opinion is I'm really uncomfortable saying that the volleyball area is packed every night, and now you're talking about moving it.
moving it over to the west.
I don't know where you're moving it. It just
You can
says
move it to the west, but
relocated.
we did spend, I don't know, it was in 1990, something about $4,000 to put it in.
I mean, I don't get it.
The drain, we actually put really good drainage below.
Is there anything on the other side of the basketball court? There's no room on that side, is there?
There's a lot of stuff you'd have to move. We were looking at that,
This is going to be paved.
but you'd have to be moving some.
So the only other option would be go east and west, and you want to do that because of the sun, right?
Right, and I think you'd wipe out your volleyball court. You could move it.
You could, if I could just show you.
Yes.
Move it to the golf course, make it a little more difficult to my hole.
That poor golf course.
What hole is this, Bill?
That's number 9.
It's number 9 fairway.
Do we need a number 9? Put it up,
Yeah, we do.
Let's only do 8.
More difficult to...
Be a nice.
Give me a hole.
Nice hazard. Nice hazard.
And because this is going to be used for inline skating, why can't that run east and west?
It's just a recommendation, nationals, it's this way those courts and fields are orientated north-south because of the sun.
Well, I can see-
One team's going to be playing it, one doesn't, they figure you got an advantage.
Yeah, but they change every period.
I know, so it should be balanced.
Well, except that there's only 3 periods in hockey. Well,
You're still going to have a bunch of people sitting around it. I mean, I can
Yeah.
remember hanging on the fence, when my kids
Yeah.
were doing that. I mean, there were 3, 4, besides having the teams sit around, you just got the rink there. What about all the people?
Tim, if they put this in
Every
like
kid
they
has a
did the
parent.
basketball court, is that going to screw up my plumbing now going to the pond? And
No.
we still haven't been able to fix?
We're going to fix that.
But we hired
But this-
engineers to take care of that.
But this won't interfere with that, right?
We're filling it up right now.
No, I mean, that cement won't interfere with our plumbing, right?
Right.
Okay.
So looking at that site, then, this is the most viable solution that you see, besides going east and west. This is the only north and south one, right?
Right.
Is there an opportunity, I mean, you're going, the one is a tournament style, okay, fine. The other one is smaller. I know that the 2 grass rinks that they have at Elizabeth Park are, I mean, they're not regulation size. I'm wondering, when we were first
I would go
discussing,
more than 145, looking at all the various.
What about the width?
when we first discussed this, we were just talking
I
about,
maintain that. Sure.
never mind.
Sorry, Utah.
That's all right.
No, finish,
No.
please.
No, obviously, you need to ask those questions, too. So, I just remember when we first started this, that we talked about just, and I hate to use the word squeeze, but we were going to squeeze it in between the baseball and volleyball court. And it was really just for fun skating, having a place to skate. And the conversation wasn't about regulation size or events in that sense, but just a place for kids to rollerblade.
That really is
to
recreation,
skate.
fun, and community.
So if we scale this down so that it doesn't impact the volleyball court, and I think we even talked about using the basketball court in the winter, using a liner or something to,
Put a dome on there.
put a rink in there, so, because I think one of the reasons everyone likes the rink at Water's Edge is because you have the opportunity of using the restaurant facilities. It adds to the restaurant's cachet in the winter. We have the Winter Festival going. Kids go sledding at the club. It just had that kind of extra, to it.
Cash, yeah, cash.
Wait, who was that drawer? Sorry, Leah, what do you want?
No, I just wanted to express my concern that this is sounding more like another hockey rink, and I have been fighting to be able to do my skating against hockey players since I was 5 years old. And so I would prefer that it be kept at a smaller level and not get into letting the guys and the girls who play hockey dominate.
That's a good.
Well, that's only 2 or 3 weeks that you've had to fight.
Well, I think Leah's point is well taken. I mean, the kids that are involved in club hockey and in sport hockey, they have their rinks and their activities, but we also see a lot of just kids learning how to skate on that rink, and I think it's important to preserve that recreational aspect of it. If you've ever been to the Winter Festival at Greenfield Village, the rink they put up there is really tiny, but they put a lot of people on it, and so I don't know that, forgive me for saying so, that size matters.
Where would you relocate the volleyball court to, Tim?
Yeah.
Move it more towards the bathhouse.
So you got a 20-foot buffer by the basketball court, but what do you want, 20 foot on the other side too?
No, I talked about a range over there.
Over here.
The west.
So you already spent how much money on this? The one you got?
The volleyball, I think
volleyball.
it was like 20, almost 20 years ago, it's about 4,000, something.
Oh, all right, not much.
I guess, I thought it was going to be able to fit a little bit more, because when we talked, who was that drawer that, with Ellison, who's the? Mark. Because we did have that, there was that, we were at the farm, that we didn't want regulation, we wanted to fit, because we really wanted that site to work right here what you want. But it looks like it's not going to fit really at all.
If you want to go with the minimum, that inline and ice hockey, that would be that 145.
Well, see,
Well, you're-
But I'm not saying they probably plan it was 135.
Yeah, but Tim, you're talking about sport, right? Inline hockey and ice hockey.
Yeah.
And I think maybe some of the community is talking about just a place to skate with their rollerblades and with their hockey skates or their ice skates.
But couldn't we just
We
schedule?
were talking about team events here. We
For
were talking about
example,
skating.
not to interrupt you, in Gibraltar, a company donated the asphalt for an inline, and it's much smaller than this, but they gave it to Gibraltar, and they put it up and use it, and the kids could use it.
So-
it's all, that's things we got to
well, my
consider.
thinking, I'm just looking at it now, on actually seeing it, because I didn't think, I thought it was going to fit. If volleyball is so popular, why wouldn't we add another volleyball court by
Right.
the basketball court and just go
Right.
east-west with the ice rink north of this? By the pool even, like where we have the club cars, or just north of this, east and west.
Those are all open for consideration.
Maybe we should put that question also in the
I agree.
bulletin.
Bill,
Tim, this
Put it
doesn't
from the
show it,
volleyball
but
net.
on
And
the,
then put that here.
let me,
They got it.
Get over here. This doesn't show it, but where the basketball court is now, if you go east of there, and you were to use the smaller size court for the inline, that property would be much safer to be in that position and leave your volleyball where it is. In other words, go on the east side of the basketball court and put the smaller inline skating thing there. That's all vacant land. We'd have to move some dirt and things, but it would be much safer if you're golfing, what I'm getting at, especially the way I hit a ball. But the point being, then you don't have to mess around with moving the volleyball court and all that. What do you think?
That's something I could research and come
Yeah,
back and
take a
even
look at that,
update you
'cause-
prior to the next meeting.
because you heard it, Bill said he doesn't care about any of his water lines in that area, so.
Well, no, I didn't say that. No, that wouldn't affect, I think moving it there would less affect our water line going to the pond that we have to put in.
How far do you think if we put it there, Bill, that the maintenance shed would be from there?
Well,
We can utilize,
the maintenance shed is way over here.
okay,
Okay, now the only thing we use, if you look at this picture, just to the east, immediate east of the basketball court, is a little bit of a road we use for an access. But that doesn't mean we couldn't use, if we're accessing that part of the golf course, doesn't mean that we couldn't put an access road to the east of the inline, or we could use, if you look at this picture, we could use where he's got that drawn in, we could use that road as access to this part of the course. That it doesn't create any kind of a problem, as I see it. Now, maybe Mark would have a better idea. And also, we have to be very, very careful about where we put things because of the fact that there is so much irrigation and water lines and things in there. So Mark would have the real say-so on that.
all right, besides location, do we got a consensus that really the smaller one is more conducive of what we're looking for as opposed to the big one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's
Possibly smaller, but we should get some input from the users.
correct. But I mean, if we were to, I think too though, I mean, the user's probably bigger is better all the time, but if you were to go to this big one, what would be the price difference between
Good point.
regulation as opposed to a rec?
You probably didn't want to list it, but I don't know what it exactly is.
What'd you say, quarter million?
What?
No.
How much bigger is it?
All right, so we gotta digest this a little bit, all right? All right, any other old business then, or are we good with that?
We just realized that a lot of places, kids are playing inline hockey in their driveways, and they're not worried so much about the regulation size, or, they're not going to go into buying jerseys and all this just to play. So this is to be for fun.
Right, and hockey people, we need your input, please. And figure skaters.
I play hockey all the time.
Any other old business?
Udo and John will be handing down a rounds report and a financial report for the golf course only. And then the last page, the second page, is just kind of a system of how we can bring up like revenues and expenses. That was just for kind of an example for you that Matt and Maggie ran off. So if we need to bring something up and take a look at each area. So we need a very strong July and August.
But there's a lot of this we get no control with the wind. You know what I mean?
I think we had probably the fourth worst rainy season. It's on record according to the weather. That's what I heard on one TV station.
We need prayers to Mother Nature.
But we won't make excuses. We hope for a better July and August, and then we'll take a look at it. But if you look at the revenue, you see where the special rates, that draws quite a few people in. That would be, let's see here, where was that? Where did I see that?
All right, anybody have any questions about this thing that the report Tim handed out?
Trying to find it.
Well, but Tim, does this basically mean we're on budget? Or close?
No, I'd say we're running a little behind because of the weather. We can't get the people onto the golf course. This is golf course only.
So there's no kayak golf yet? There's
No kayak golf.
No water golf?
No.
But that last page kind of shows you the numbers and how we track different things, and if we needed to get more detail for the commission, I thought that'd be nice to give you. And
Yeah.
Access to golf.
All right, thank you. Anything else? The other old business we have? All right, moving on. And any new business? I think we kind of discussed those action items already with the Playscape, looking at that, kayak launch. Anyone else have any new business they want to present? Anyone? John?
I just was curious, anything else as far as any more feedback regarding the Island Fest? Anything else come of that?
I wanted to give the Festival Kitchen hasn't had their wrap-up yet,
Oh, okay.
but I do bills right before the board meetings each time, and there's still several Island Fest bills coming in to give a final on that.
But speaking of the Island Fest, John, I want to thank the Island Fest committee, this commission, all the volunteers that helped. They really, I thought, made it really nice. It was a very successful night. Doc Morris, phenomenal fundraising job. The fireworks, anyone attended that, I thought everyone would think it was an outstanding show. I think it was a great thing, and just want to thank everyone for your help and support. All right, so moving on, subcommittee updates. Open Space Greenways Committee update. Shelky.
There will be some action, I believe, taken at the Township Board meeting relative to some open space concerns. I did not make the last meeting, so nothing else to report.
Okay, thank you. Golf Committee update, Morrow.
Okay, as we just discussed, the weather has been very mean to us this year, but so far I have to really congratulate the tremendous amount of work that our volunteer group has put together in trying to keep the course despite the rain and the weather, keep the course open when it needed to be open. I know that there are some people that are frustrated because we weren't able to cut the rough areas down to manageable rough play. And that was because we're still using some of the old equipment that we have to try and manage that, especially with the time frame we've had with bad weather. So when we get a chance to cut, we're cutting with everything we can possibly cut. They've been spending like 8-hour days out there trying to get caught up, and they've done just an outstanding job. I get overwhelmed emotionally with the effort that they've put in. So I want the public to know that the golf course is in great shape. And this year, believe it or not, we were ready March 1st to play golf. And obviously, we didn't open March 1st, but we were ready, and the golf course, we had a couple days there where we could have played some golf, but that's another issue, and we're working on that for next year. We've addressed many issues. There are some tree plantings that we've done. Bob Rice and I went out and picked up the replacement trees from Costco. We had 3 trees die over the winter, and we threw them in the truck, took them over there, and there wasn't 2-second hesitation. They just said, pick out 3 more trees and you're on your way. And we did, and they've been planted. They look beautiful. I, however, am still working on the plaques for the people who made donations for our trees. I'm still working on that. I've got it all engineered and figured out and everything. I just need to put them together. And so we'll have those placards in place, making a note of the people that donated the trees. There are some things that we had planned this year to do. We had one of our Grosse Ile residents, George Mathis, donated a good $200 worth of boxwood trees, shrubs, and we're in the process of going to have to cluster them and put them in a couple of different areas. So we're waiting for everything to be right so we can get that placed. So thanks to George, and we will get a plaque put together for him, George and Barb Mathis. And what else? Well, Tim and I are working constantly on rates and making sure that we can get some more weekend play, which has been good. And Tim sent me a note the other day indicating that when the weather was, I forget what day it was, Tim sent me a note on that on my email saying golf course was so full, they were waiting in line.
Thursday.
What day was that?
Thursday or Friday last week.
Yeah, Thursday or Friday. It was just a gorgeous day, and they were waiting in line to tee off. So the course is great, and Mark Tissot has done just a great job in doing what our plans are to make the course playable. The greens, the fairways. We still have a lot of work to do, and we're waiting for this crazy rain to give us a little bit of a break so we can get some of that done. I believe that covers everything I had to say.
Thanks, Bill. Marina swales.
It's the fun, busy time of the year at the marina. I think that Dockmaster Bob Lang has put in over 50 or 60 boats in the water in the last 2 months. We still have 5 or 6 boats that need to go in, but I know, Tim, you're on that in terms of what the situations are. I just look at that as hopefully revenue for the marina. Get those boats in or get the revenue from them. We still have about at least 5 or 6 slips that we'd love to rent out.
Yes.
So anybody that has a boat that hasn't put it in the water yet, we can certainly work with you to get your boat in the water at Water's Edge, and we'd love to have you there. Because that's how we get revenue, and that's important to us. Even last Sunday was a great day at the marina, Father's Day. A lot of families were down at the marina enjoying the day, and it's just a lot of activity, so that's really great. I'd also like to highlight the members had a little volunteer project again this year. These are people that keep their boats at the marina. They put in a beautiful brick paver area to the boardwalk from the roadway at Pier 1. It's just a beautiful project, and it was done once again by most of the same volunteers who built the boardwalk last year, led by Dock Master Bob Lang and Marina member Jim Allen. So thank you to all the volunteers that built that paver area. It's beautiful. We've already had the report on the kayak area, and at the April meeting, I did suggest that Water's Edge Marina could be a good home for a kayak, so I'm happy to hear that someone has picked up the ball, because I think it is the right place to pursue that opportunity. And the marina and the boardwalk are attracting a lot of visiting boats, which is a very good thing. They come to that part of the marina, they tie up their boat, they go up the hill to enjoy the restaurant, and they pay a fee for that, and there's lots of boats coming in, and that's very encouraging. We're happy to have visitors every day, and we usually try and help them out, help them tie up their boat, and they know where to go up the hill to get their food and beverage and pay their fee. There's one small issue. A lot of the marina members continue to complain about boats roaring up and down the river, throw a big wake into the marina and rock the boats and could cause damage. I've asked the police commissioner of Grosse Ile if he could help out, but we really need some help from maybe the Wayne County Sheriff on that, just to patrol, because that's entire no-wake zone. No boat should be rolling through the river in that area. They should be all going at a very slow speed and no wake. So please observe the no-wake zone at the marina. Thank you.
One comment I have is that we were going to try and contact Edison to look at the north and south end of their property and see if there would be possible if we or they would put up like a 4x8 sign stating no wake area. That would be beneficial on that side. There was also going to be the last walkthrough I made when I was on your committee. We were going to take a look at the southern end of our property on Dock 1. I think at the very end of that Dock 1, there's a big sign that we were going to try and enhance that sign to say no wake, and then also down by the hoist, putting a sign either on the other side of the bridge, on the stone side, or on the end of the dock to indicate a no wake area there. I think part of that problem, if we were able to do that, that would be very beneficial for Wayne County Sheriffs and Border Patrol and all those people who are traversing that area to at least enforce it, because it is very, very well posted. That was one of the things that came up, as I said, last year. So I'm just wondering, I'm asking you, is that being considered, or is it done, or because if need be, one of us or all of us could go over to the Wayne County Sheriff and the Border Patrol, which is now local, we could say to them, this needs to be policed. And it's a very, you can fire off a warning, I shouldn't say fire off, but you could give them a warning, and then if they continue to abuse the privilege of traversing that water at a higher rate of speed, therefore inducing a wake, then they need to be ticketed.
Well, I think that some of the marina members have talked about contacting the Wayne County Sheriff, because you're right, they're located in Elizabeth Park. I think that that's important. I'd like to try and take the initiative just to visit with them and ask if they could help. Your other idea for additional signage sounds like another good volunteer project that maybe could be undertaken by the marina members.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Centennial Farm, Woodward Ryan.
Okay.
Don't get so excited.
I have 5 different items I want to talk about. I'll try and go fast. Walt, you already talked about, and Tim talked about the equestrian centers already in negotiations, trying to come up with a way to secure the Luton Riding Academy to stay there, make everybody happy. They've done a really good job, and we want to keep them around. We want to still keep horses around. As far as, I know we're not talking that much about the Island Festival, but I want to mention something I'm the big horse person here. The parade that the Grocio Equestrian Club had, the tractor and the hayride wagon trailer with a mini, and I didn't know what to call it. It was a hayride trailer, had the mini in it, with the kids in it.
The pony.
It's a mini, I know. And there was a horse trailer that had 2 horses in it. And I think they were at a big show, otherwise I'm sure you would have seen more of the Luton people out there. The Downriver Horse Lovers Club had 6 riders. They were kind of sponsored by my clinic that had the pooper scooper behind. So we tried to have at least more horses on there. You know, hopefully next year we'll get more horses, especially, depends on their show schedule and that. I'd like to say that Julie Cordes got her certification. We have an official animal control officer, so she's official, working like crazy, trying to cram in full-time and part-time, doing a really, really good job. And she's compassionate but no nonsense. She's not going to put up with anything. There's no abuse going on around her. Fourth thing, the Downriver Horse Lovers Trail Ride, I got a lot of stuff on that. We have to say a lot of, I guess you call them shout-outs or thank yous. It was a 9-mile ride on, I'm sure people saw it, June 18th, Saturday from 11 to 3. They had a potluck after the ride. It was 9 miles. There were 18 horses that showed up. She was trying to limit it to 20-25. 18 horses showed up. It included people from the island and off the island. Julie Cordes, poor Julie, she mowed it across from the pilot house, mowed a big area across from the pilot house, so the airport people were involved, the pilot house people were involved by allowing them to use that. They were escorted, I have to say, by the police department through the whole thing. Let me get them right. Officer Vasquez, did I say it right? Officer Kutala and Julie Cordes. Julie wants to make sure that Tim Rooney gets a big thank you. He provided a golf cart, right, that she rode in, whatever it was. She says, thank you, Tim. Let me see, the pilot house provided toilets for everybody, which everybody was worried about. Yeah, well, it was a long day. I guess they were out there a long time. There was one minor incident that took place, and since there was an EMT and a nurse on the ride, it was very well handled. And the one rider that had an incident did have time to put her lipstick on before our volunteer fire department showed up. She just had to be pretty for those guys. So they handled it very well, so a big thank you to the fire department.
Was it a hot day?
It was, I don't know, because if you get on Horse Lovers Club Facebook page, there's over 120 pictures on it. And there are, I have to tell you, it's a group of people, the whole purpose of that group is to bring people together that love horses. That was it. That was the whole point of that ride. And honestly, I saw Leslie Flood choked up because there were people on the island that did not know there were other people on the island that had horses in their backyard. And she said the whole point was to bring horse people together, and it met that. And with a big volunteer in the police department. She said I wasn't here, I was away, but people came out of their houses, offered drinks to people took pictures, showed their kids. It was a big thing.
Last Saturday?
Yes. The 18th was a big thing. It was unanimous that they want to make it bigger, and they want to do it annual. I don't know how much bigger they can do it, but they definitely want to do it annual. They keep thinking that maybe the fall would be better. It's a big game with the weather because they all got hot. But I think in the fall you got bugs, so whatever. They'll figure it out together. Hopefully we're gonna get bigger people.
Have snow anytime if they do it in June next year anyway.
Yeah, who knows? Whatever. It was a big thing, and they really enjoyed. And it was a big. There's some beautiful pictures of them coming down East River Road, and you can see the river they came around, is it St. Anne's, Chap? Anne's? Yeah, it was beautiful.
Secret, right?
That was nice. Okay, what was my, one last thing is the Grosse Equestrian Team is having a fundraiser July 10th at Sharkey's from 12 to 4. It's $15 a plate for dinner. It's raffles, it's fundraising. There's
What's the date?
July 10th. There's going to be tiger tickets, tanning package, movie night package, clothing. It's raffles. There you can buy tickets ahead, which as far as I know, you have to call Leslie Flood, 734-626-3561, or you can buy it at the door. It's all fundraiser for the Equestrian Club. They're making a big point of inviting the Grosse Equestrian Club and the Luton Performance Horses. They're going to invite Downriver Horse Lovers Club and anybody that wants to support the Grosse Equestrian Team. And we're hoping that you guys have noticed that the horse community is getting pulled together and we're getting more people, and we all know them. All right?
All right.
I have a question.
Yes.
The EMS issue
Yeah, it was great.
and the lipstick, did that
It's all
involve
on
mouth-to-mouth?
I think she was working on it.
I had to ask.
All right, thanks, Helena.
You're welcome.
Airport recreation area, Myrie.
I've only got 3 items, they'll be real quick. Soccer, Giza just finished their season. By all appearances, it was another success. Gyra, the football, they're looking forward to starting in August, and they are really looking forward to using the fields down there. And again, I just want to announce the lacrosse high school coaches are still running a free recreational program every Saturday from 9 to 11 behind the high school by the tennis courts, and it'll run till the end of July. So anybody that's interested in learning how to play lacrosse, come on out.
All right, thank you. Senior citizen, Yop, she's rock climbing somewhere, so we'll move on to schools. Conroy.
A couple of things that I want to give kudos to the school about. Kudos are the concert, the VSO concert that was free a few weeks ago on a Friday night. That was very well attended, and they did a phenomenal job. The school, all the people with the handing the tickets out were very encouraging about all that. And Greg, what was, how did we do as far as lacrosse in the overall Michigan standings this past year?
We got by Ypsilanti as expected. Then unfortunately we fell to Cranbrook 15-4. But they had a very good showing. A couple things would have gone our way, would have been a lot closer.
You had injuries, though, didn't you?
Yeah, we had a lot of injuries. The program and the team is growing, and that's what we want. So that's why the coaches have started with Butch's leadership this recreational program. We're getting 6th, 7th, and 8th graders out there learning the basics, so that when they show up their freshman year, we don't spend time teaching them how to throw and catch. So hopefully the sport will grow. I mean, it's an inexpensive sport too. So.
Well, the number of televised games I've seen has really risen, so that's a good step in the right direction there.
It's fastest game on 2 feet.
And then, because Godan Zaberi is on our rec commission, kudos again to the golf team for their finish and his fine showing as a golfer this year. Did a great
he
job.
checked in, too. He's in a tournament in Lansing, but he told us he would be away.
Yeah.
That's it.
All right. Any extended public comment? Please? No? Individual commissioner comments. Uta.
I'd just like to welcome Ann to the commission. Thank you. We're happy that you were able to join us, and we look forward to working with you. Thank you.
Thank you. John.
Ping pong's going great. We had a little infestation of fish flies that we survived, but we're having a good time over there. We've got a regular crew now of people that we've got doubles play going on as well now, so that's good. Ping pong?
Ping pong. He loves his ping pong. Ann, you have any individual comments?
No, not right now.
All right. Leo? Mike?
No comment.
Helena? Greg?
I'm good.
Bill?
Play golf.
I like it. Tim?
I just wanted to, as we discussed the meeting, that you can see how many activities, programs, services, facilities we're responsible for. I just want to take time to thank, the volunteers and the seasonal staff, but there's really 6 people that work for me that are very key, and they work extremely hard, and that's Mark Tiso. He's back with us year-round, and the work he's doing with the volunteer committee, if you walk in the maintenance barn, he's got it highly organized. He's really digging in and working with them and trying to find the right positions for each person. Really does a nice job, and very key, very community-oriented. Ned Peltz, that's the second full-time person in our department. We have 3, myself and Mark and Annette. And just, Annette's picked up a lot of the work after Kathy's retirement, plus along with her programming and variety. Those 2 people are doing a bang-up job. And then we have the year-round part-time that really made the rec department as we began to grow. You have Brian Payette. He's picked up a lot of the duties in the marina after Dan. We had laid Dan off because of the budget. Maggie Nash stepped in the office and is doing an incredible job. Very good in the morning with all the different golf leagues. Just gets up there, gets in, works, but she's doing a tremendous job. Sue on the van, covering weekends at the farm. And then Gary Tiso, kind of our key chemical guy and filling in wherever behind Mark. He knows the golf course through and through, and if we didn't have his assistance, we'd be out of luck. But those 6 people, they pick up the slack. Several of them during Island Fest when I had to leave. They knew the operation. They worked with Dale and Derek and the volunteers. But they're all community members, Grosse Ile, and they love their community.
Right, because I've noticed, with our cutbacks in your department, they really stepped up.
We're running a little behind, but they're working their hearts out, and we'll get a handle on it.
All right. Greg, you got a redo?
Actually, Bill enlightened me. I'm good.
All right, with that said, a motion to adjourn, please. Mike, second.
Second.
Greg. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All right, thank you. Good evening, you all.